as I was researching about you and what life coaching was about, one of the things that I saw that I thought was interesting is when someone is closed off, then they basically are closed off from receiving any of that positivity or that, I don't know what to call it, but to receive anything from any other people because they're like closed off within themselves. How do you address that? How do you sort of help them take the first step? Because the first step is the hardest step from what I've read, especially in finding a relationship. And I will tell you that with my own friend, the thing that she overcomes is every time it doesn't work out, she always immediately blames herself. That's the first thing she does is it must be me. Something's wrong with me. So if somebody has that already, how do you address that? How do you help them overcome that so that they can receive a person in the proper way? And can you?
Okay, so the question is about blaming yourself.
Yeah. So the question is when somebody comes to you and every time, let's say they've had relationships in the past, and every time those relationships fail, they always blame themselves. Like they always say, well, it must be me. It's not them or circumstances or just life. It must be me. And that seems to be a common thread in the dating scene, right? And I just wonder how it made me start to think, like, if you have a new client that comes to you and they are dealing with that, how do you take that first step to get them to sort of clear that out so that they can move on and potentially have a healthy new relationship?
In general, I don't. I think that's a very healthy approach because they are proactive. In fact, in my practice, I see the opposite. Most people believe that the problem was not with them, but with the other person. And they come to me to change the partner, or they come with like emotional baggage from their relationship. And they say that I did everything right, but the other person did it wrong. So in fact, I have to do the opposite. I ask them, okay, let's look at the lessons that you can, gather from that experience so that you do not make the same mistake. So I have to actually sell them on being more proactive and being more responsible for what they did. But in this case, in this example that you provided, when someone is blaming themselves, I would basically say this. First of all, let's look at the lesson again. What's the lesson? And for example, the lesson I was not communicating very well. Okay, so what are the steps that you can take in the future to be a better communicator? So, and those are steps 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's find a person to practice on. And then, like, she goes to meet that person, she dates them, she practices those 3 tips, and she comes back to me with feedback and for feedback. So by doing this, she focuses on the lesson, and then she focuses on practicing the results.